Penis. Yeah, I figured that would get your attention. How typical. But yeah, penis, vulva also. My product topic was about personal perceived genital attractiveness, which is kind of like a woke moralist way of saying that I ask people what insecurities they have about their genitals. So basically, the only talk of genital insecurity that I ever saw on the internet was about insecurity over penis size. And that's boring and uninspired, even if there is like genuine reason behind it, and we as a culture may need to move away from shaming men about it. But I will say that just in life, there's just an oversaturation of cis men complaining about their dick sizes. So I wondered if, despite the quietness from all the other groups, there were more insecurities about the appearance of their genitals from people that weren't cis men. What else don't we like about what's in between our legs, aesthetically speaking? Well, let's check the research first. From a series of surveys conducted in 2020 by Bespoke Surgical, the following statistics are true. 46% of men and 31% of women get their ideas of what their genitals should look like from porn. 16% of men and 28% of women get their ideas of what their genitals should look like from the internet besides porn. So safe to say that most people don't really get their ideas of what their genitals should look like from any trustworthy sources. You know, the internet is just full of AI porn and weird porn and AI bots responding to the weird porn that's AI. You know what I mean? From the same surveys, I will say, though, that the following is true. 24% of cis men wish their penises were larger. Lower than I'm sure you thought. 14% of circumcised cis men wish they were uncircumcised, with only 7% of uncircumcised cis men wishing they were circumcised. 18% of cis men are insecure about the appearance of their testicles. 22% of cis women are insecure about the appearance of their vulva. 41% of cis women are insecure about their labia is somehow abnormal. 48% of cis women are insecure about their vaginal discharge, and 48% of cis women are also worried about that their vagina is somehow abnormal. In short, it seems that women are more commonly worried about their genital appearances than men are. To expand on that, based on a 2022 observational study on 202 women conducted by Complutense University in Madrid, the following is true. 32% of women reported occasional concern of their genitals, 5% of women frequent concern, 4.5% of women constant concern, and 15% of women considered genital surgery to correct any insecurities they had about their genitals. And while my research is not specific to women's insecurities, I think the high percentage of women who are concerned about their genitals leads to my hypothesis. I believe that while the majority of people are insecure about their genitals in some way, people with vulvas will have more individual insecurities than people with penises. More to be disappointed about, in layman's terms. So, after all that statistics slop, let's get into more personalized and central and relevant statistics slop. I surveyed 59 participants in an online survey, mostly of undergraduate students at this here university, with some outliers. Some disclaimers here is that because we're at this here university, my demographics are very unique. There are a lot of non-binary identities featured here and many trans perspectives, which I will discuss later. Additionally, heterosexual was the minority identity featured here, so happy Pride to you, UNCSA. Anyways, let's get to it. When asked if their genitals impacted their self-confidence at all, it was about an even split between yes and no, with the remaining answers being somewhere around sometimes, in special circumstances, or never considered. When asked to expand on these feelings, 57% of respondents said their genitals negatively impacted their self-confidence, 21% said it positively impacted their self-confidence, about 7% of respondents said it didn't affect them at all, and the rest of the respondents fluctuated between sometimes, special circumstances, or they don't think about it. Are we getting a trend here? From this segment, it's found that the blanket feelings of genitals are quite mixed, I guess. To get a better idea of people's feelings towards their own genitals, respondents were asked to describe their feelings about them in their own words. These responses were even more scattered, unfortunately. Firstly, about 22% of respondents did not answer this, but frequent phrases from the remaining 78% were disgust, shame, gross, apathetic, neutral, felt nothing, happy, empowered, content, weird, strange, insecure, and the other 3% were mixed responses that were very contingent on the person's identity. Additionally, from all those responses, though, about 10% mentioned some kind of dysphoria or strange relationship to their genitals due to being some form of genderqueer or trans. Common phrases included the genitals feeling not right or wishing that they had another set of genitals, basically. I will say, though, that I did have a huge portion of trans or genderqueer respondents, as we know, and many did have some variants of apathy or neutrality towards their genitals, which I found interesting. I decided to look more into this and found this is a documented phenomenon from translifeline.org. It's common to feel nothing towards your genitals because, funnily enough, trans people, like everyone else, have nuanced and varied opinions that can't be blanket statemented. Sure, they may be more susceptible to shame or disgust around their genitals, but apathy is a common emotion across the board, especially and even sometimes more frequently with trans people, which I thought was super interesting. I thought that was neat, basically. Anyways, respondents were also asked if they worried about their genitals looking normal, and it was basically a 50-50 split on yes and no, so there's not much to comment on there other than one of the responses saying they grew out of it. Grew out of worrying about it, that is. Next here are the gender-specific questions, which should also be a grand time to mention that 82% of our respondents had vulvas, which should explain the differences in these statistics. From the vulva insecurities graph, we have people worried about the following. Size of labia, too big, too small, 42%. Color of labia, too dark, too light, 35%. Shape of labia, symmetry, wrinkles, other things, 44%. Odor, 71%. Discharge, 50%. Lubrication, too wet, not wet enough, 31%. Taste, 52%. Pubic hair, 63%. And size of clitoris, angled out too far, too hidden, etc., 13%. And 6% of people said that they were not insecure about any part of their vulva, which I think is really awesome. From the penis insecurities graph, however, we have the following concerns. Length of penis, 45%. Girth of penis, 36%. Pubic hair, 36%. Circumcision, 27%. Not insecure at all, 27%. Taste, 18%. Color of shaft, 18%. Shape of scrotum, 18%. And length of foreskin, 18%. So from the differences in these graphs, of course taking the population differences, it seems most people with vulvas have multiple complaints about their vulvas, with the vast majority of respondents selecting 5 or more things they don't like, as opposed to the majority of people with penises having 3 or less things they don't like. Before I head into my final thoughts on this, I am going to highlight some responses I got from the free response section that could have been food for thought, interesting to hear, or just plain fun. I think foreskin would have been cool to have. Proper education about these topics is not readily and easily accessible to the general public, specifically teenagers and adolescents, and I feel like I've spent most of my life not knowing what's even happening or going on in my own body. I hate boobs. Up until 7th grade, I thought people were flat down there. Actually still horrified with the reality. If I wasn't asexual, I would probably feel more insecure, but because I don't engage in sex, I don't really care. I've found when talking to my women friends, mostly queer, that they don't find any genitals super attractive or appealing, but that our boyfriends or other men tend to be attracted to genitalia. Example, the side of a vagina turns men on, but a penis doesn't necessarily turn women on. Interesting. They are what they are. Self-love is important even if my identity does not align with my body in the way that I would like. The only time I'm not insecure about my genitals is when I'm having sex with another trans person. My genitals are a big point of inner conflict for me, but when they are appreciated by someone who understands me, I feel more at peace. I feel truly connected to somebody. Humans are a special spectrum existing species. We all should support ourselves and others with love and respect. I don't mind them, but if I could exchange them for a penis easily, I certainly would. She's pretty swell. Damn, I'm sexy. Just there. Why I look kind of freaky? People are incredibly interesting, aren't they? After all that statistic slop and individual opinions, it seems that my hypothesis was mostly correct. People with vulvas did tend to have a lot more individual insecurities than people with penises. That being said, however, I understand this is skewed science is a bit unreliable because of my sample size. A statistician, a person with more time than me, or any person who isn't me and has a wider reach should try this again. What I found most interesting and worth looking into about this survey was just how circumstantial our own perceived genital attractiveness is. On our own, we can think anything, but that changes entirely when we have to interact with other people or we're put in situations where it's not only us. Think also about the large portion of trans participants who have likely spent a not insignificant amount of time thinking about their genitals, and contrast that with the people who don't think about them at all. Consider the lack of education in most of this country and how we may discourage exploration and deeper thought about our genitals. Think that maybe all these things are affected by what kind of sex we have or haven't had. Our orientations, porn consumption, age, even. In short, this topic is too vast and complicated for a 19-year-old film student taking a psych class to really delve into. Thank you for listening, though, and have a great day full of many thoughts about many vulvas and many penises. Or maybe just your own.
I take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start melting away. I take a look at my enormous penis, and the happy times are coming.